Hi guys, so follow up to the ghost car video. Some of you asked what the setting changes were that I'd made to my Mini Z Evo all-wheel drive. So today I'm 5 AM in the morning doing a quick video before I go away this weekend, just to update you on what I did and why I did it. So the settings you see on the screen at the moment are the original settings I was racing with the previous 2 or 3 months. The obvious things you can see already are places where the steering offset, that was adjusted originally because the car kept steering more to one side, and that was a problem out of the box when I used the KT18. Using the ICS software you can reset that so you don't have that issue anymore, and the steering is the same to both sides then. The main thing here, the reason why I'm changing things is because I installed a AMZ ball diff in the rear so I could stiffen it a little bit to give more straight line power and increase the predictability on the cornering for the drift style racing that we do. So this is the setup that I had before, and you go across each one, you can see the steering settings, the punch for the steering, the neutral position. Going further down, you can see at the moment the gyro mixing and gyro throttle effect is 0 at the moment. Okay, so the steering gyro is 0. That's not the case with the MB4 and the EX6. You can adjust the gyro from the transmitter, so it makes no difference what that is set at if you can use those transmitters, which I do at the moment. If you move along to this side, the reverse timer, that was another issue that I had when I got the car out of the box. The reverse timer meant that you were waiting ages before the car would engage into reverse, which during a race can be really frustrating. So instead of having it at, I think it was at 5 when I plugged in originally, it's now at 1. That means the car instantly goes into reverse. Brushless obviously is default because it's a brushless car. And as you can see on here, the motor timing constant is on 5, curve control is flat, the punch is 3, and the max revolution is normal, and the neutral range is mid. So those are the settings that were in the car previously. Now there was another setting before that, but I didn't save that setting, so I can't show it to you. But with this setting, what I was finding once I changed the diff, the rear diff, I was getting almost like a stuttering effect. The car didn't sound smooth. And when I was trying to drive it around the track, it was causing me to lose control because the throttle response wasn't smooth as it had been before I installed the diff. So at first, being inexperienced with the Mini Z and setting up the programming for it, I assumed it was the diff that was the problem, so I took the car apart again and started playing around with the diff. It only occurred to me later that with a different sort of load on the motor, because the diff is a bit stiffer, maybe that I needed to play around with the motor settings. So I plugged in the ICS lead, and I'll show you the changes I made. So that was the settings in front of you now are the original settings, or the second settings that I was using. I'm now going to load, I'm going to turn the car on. So if you have a look here, the ICS lead is plugged into the socket there. That's also where I normally plug the transponder. But instead of the transponder, I've got the ICS lead plugged in. And I'll turn the car on. And we go to the PC, and now we have to read. So for some reason, no matter what I do with the settings, it always hides the bottom of the screen for this particular software. Right, so I want to read. So if you click on this bit here, it says read setting from the chassis. So let's read. Okay, read complete. Right, okay, so now when you look at my timing, you can see the reverse timer is still the same. Neutral brake is on 5 now. Motor time constant is on 5. Curve is on plus, and the punch is on 5, and the max revolution is over. Neutral range is mid. I've got the steering gyro on 100, but like I said, I can turn that off on my transmitter. And I've also got all the steering settings as fast. Now we use quite a small circuit really, it's an indoor garage circuit, so everything sort of has to be to the max to get the car around the circuit on the tight corners. That's what I found anyway. I'm sure on a big sweeping open circuit the settings would have to be different. So you can see these are the changes I made, and the difference it made to the car is that the throttle response was much smoother and the car just became really easy to throw around the corners and slide around and control the slides. So I'm not talking about on a smooth slippery surface like a tiled floor or a drift track where the surface is really slippy. This is on a RCP track where the slippy side is the surface that we race on. So why am I doing all this? Well, there's one other setting, apart from the rear diff being changed, that I'm going to try, and that's the battery protection circuit, because I'm changing the batteries in the car. I've been using nickel metal hydride batteries, and I've decided to use some mini lipos that come as AAAs, as you can see in the car here. So the reason I decided to do this is, in my last video I weighed all the cars, and the Mini Z I expected to be heavier than, say, the BZ3, but it wasn't, and the main difference between the two cars is the battery weight. The batteries, the nickel metal hydride batteries that I use, the EBL 1100s, those weigh 55 grams I think when I weighed them. These lipo AAAs weigh, I think, 25 grams, so they're a good 30 grams lighter. Actually, maybe they're 30 grams. So anyway, they're a good 20-25 grams lighter. I'm not going to take them out the chassis now to weigh them, because that's the one thing that's a pain with this car, is getting the batteries in and out. It isn't as easy as it looks. So yeah, that's the reason why I've also plugged it back in today and made this video, is because I've enabled the battery protection circuit to protect these batteries. Now, what I'm hoping is that with the lighter batteries, this car will actually be even more competitive against the BZ3. And I know a lot of you out there who are fans of atomic cars will say, why are you even bothering with the Mini Z? The atomic cars are designed to be race cars, they're faster. Well, I think this car is quite competitive on our circuit anyway. It's proven itself to be very nicely predictable to control, and okay, apart from the rear diff, I've not really had to modify it. If you exclude the settings I've had to play around with, I know it costs extra, but the car itself, I've not had to put any different drive shafts in or anything, or change suspension setup apart from what comes out the box. And I've not used any modified rear shocks. These are just the standard DWS shocks that came with it. So yeah, I want to see how much faster I can get it to go with the lighter weight while having the lighter batteries. Now I have got actually also some lithium ion batteries arriving, where each one I think is 3.2. so the idea is I'll weigh those 3.2 volts. I'll weigh those and see if I can get away with using 2 of those, and then maybe a super light dummy to make up the circuit. And if they work out lighter, see how they improve the car's circuit time. So what I'd like to see, this car's done I think a 7.8 around our circuit. I'd like to see it get a 7.5 or a 7.4. The BZ4 has done a 7.4, and I think this car is capable. And then I can do another video, now that I've got my ghost car setup, showing the difference in the performances for these cars, or the similarities. So again, that is why I have been playing around with the settings, but more so because when I changed the rear diff, the car started to stutter. Okay, that's all for now, guys. Hopefully I'll see you again soon with some race footage comparing the cars.